Hello, hello, hello. It's your girl, the Avatar, Denise, aka Sugar and Spice, and I am back. September was really rough for me, but I'm feeling a lot better. And the whole point of my Spooktober series that I'm publishing on my blog and on YouTube and all over social media is I fucking love Halloween. Like, that's it. That's the tweet. Send. I fucking love Halloween. Except ever since I went through my awakening, there's hardly anything out there that can scare me. So like ghosts, it's fine. I'm with it. Werewolves, vampires, I'm like, woo. So my intention was let's talk about like real scary shit. Like let's talk about the shit that scares us. So half of it is going to be on an esoteric level with this video. Like I'm going to be channeling and publishing the conversations that I have with the Akashic Records about things I was genuinely frightened of, like the rapture and demonic possession, is it real and stuff like that. And then the other half is going to be about shadow work, the things that scare us about ourselves, fears of abandonment, how to move through them. Yeah, our need to be perfect and things like that, and the ways that we chain ourselves. In the tarot, the devil energy is about self entrapment. So, yeah, half of it is going to be really esoteric, and then the other half of it, I'm aiming for it to be a little more practical. And help us navigate through shadow work, through the things that keep us limited and keep us from truly thriving. I mean, what is scarier than the truth sometimes? You know what I mean? So yeah, hopefully, this scares the shit out of us in the best way possible. It rattles us into action and liberates us of those chains and those self-entrapments. Just a couple housekeeping things before I begin this Akashic session about demonic possession is I am opening up my beginner tarot level classes again. So if you are interested in picking up the tarot, if you've been thinking about it for a while, or you've picked it up but you're still struggling and you want like a more strong foundation for intuitive reading, hit up your girl. I'm a great teacher, I promise. I have the reviews to prove it. If not, book an Akashic session with me, figure out all about your own life and stuff and your past lives and your romance, whatever you want. It's a great time. Book one mostly because I like doing it. That's it. I like doing it and I think the information is valuable. Yeah, without further ado, now that I've introduced the Spooktober series, please look out for that because I had a great time channeling and also just moving through my own shadow. I was like, you know what, bitch, you're not that bad once I get to know you. So, that evil Gemini twin was like, you know what, girl, you're cool too. So we're friends now, but I mean, still kind of dislike her sometimes, but we're working through it. And hopefully you can work through your own evil twin too. Anyway, without further ado, this first installment of Spooktober is about demonic possession. I've always been scared shitless of demonic possession. If you heard a growl, it's not a demon, it's my dog. Anyway, I've always been shit scared of possession. Like, The Exorcist used to, like, literally kill me as a kid. I was like, fuck this movie. And then The Conjuring came out, and I was like, oh, absolutely not. So I wanted to know, is it real? I mean, the most reliable source of truth I have are the Akashic Records. I trust them. I trust myself as a channeler of them. So I was like, what is the tea? And as always, in full disclosure, I let them know I'd be publishing this conversation. So it was specifically tailored for a larger audience. Coco. No. Don't look at me like that. Chihuahuas. They're small and mean like me. Anyway, great. So without further ado, let's get to it. My first question to the Akashic Records was, are demonic possessions real? Like, I just need to know. Are they real? And if so, what can you tell us, meaning the collective, about them? Yes, Demonic possessions are real, but not in the way actors portray them on film and television. Demonic possessions can be as subtle as sudden changes in mood and steady growing aggression towards loved ones. Only rarely do demons take complete possession of a human being, and when it occurs, it is always pre-agreed upon between the soul inhabiting that body and the demon servicing it. You have to understand that all are here to experience and apply certain knowledge. Prior to living, you choose which circumstances will best serve you. In the event of a dramatic and violent demon attack, you must understand that it is not possible without the soul's cooperation. There is something in that experience that the soul is eager to conquer or master. Demonic possession is very real, but again, rarely does it ever appear as dramatically as depicted in fictional films and art. It is real in the ways it prevents a person from living their most joyful life and expressing true love in the forms that they feel love in. Demons need not be huge to be harmful. The most dangerous are often the most subtle, disguised as intuition or anxiety. Bitch, that shook me. So basically, a demonic attack, you only get one if you want one. As far as like the really violent, like crazy ones, kind of like the ones on TV, that's what they're saying. So that led to my second question. I was like, so then what is the purpose of a demonic possession or attack? Like, why would someone want that? It may be hard to imagine why a person might want and consent to a possession, but there is value in it. Some are so far removed from God that the only way God feels real is as Savior. From one extreme of condemnation to the other of total salvation. Others have something to prove, be it strength or faith. They choose to prove it through spiritual warfare and conquest. The purpose of a demonic possession is tailored to the specific instructions of that soul inhabiting the human body. On a broad level, the purpose of the existence of demons is to bring all closer to God. It may be hard to imagine and even harder to understand, but even demons serve a holy purpose. By bringing attention to all the parts of yourself that you hide, by scaring you silly into confronting the fact that unseen forces are very real and very influential in a human life. This is rare, but some souls do prefer to be awakened through fear. Think of the term painfully obvious. Humans do not accept spirit until not doing so begins to physically or emotionally pain them. The purpose of these demonic attacks is the same as the purpose of any other experience, and that is to provide an opportunity to bring a soul closer to its highest expression of self. That was a drag. I was one of the souls that was awakened through fear. I was very scared. I thought I was possessed. When I first started having visions and, the clairvoyance started coming in, I genuinely feared for my life. I wouldn't go in my house by myself. I was terrified. So it's more common than you think. I'm one of those souls that was like, shake me or else I'm not going to believe that you're real. Well, be careful what you wish for because I was scared shitless. Alrighty, so how can one, now that we know they're real, how can one prevent an attack/possession? There is only God and the absence of God. To prevent a demonic attack, it is enough to fully accept and know God. It is not enough to verbalize your belief. You must live this belief. You cannot claim to believe and hold faith in God while simultaneously harming the life of another being. To prevent a demonic attack, aim to raise your vibration until they can no longer see you and therefore feed off of you. All of time exists stacked one over the other. Once you raise your vibration past a certain point, you cease to exist at the same level as these entities. You could be staring a demon in the face and they wouldn't be aware of it simply because they do not and cannot register your vibration past a certain point. So aim to get there through meditative practices and by living a life of healthy service to yourself and your communities. This is how one embodies God and walks with God too. Yeah, so because, planes of existence are stacked like this, once you raise your vibration past a certain point, all of the entities that live here don't register, they don't see you. They don't know you're there. Yeah. By maintaining the energy of God, you do not fear the consequences of a life lived in the absence of God. It is very simple. My next question was, well, if there's an attack already underway, how can one combat a possession? With faith and strength, both physical and spiritual. It can be challenging to remove a demonic presence, but it is not impossible with mental and spiritual discipline. Seek out holistic practitioners and mentors with many years of experience to help you remove the feeding source of the demon. It may be feeding off of inner child rage that remains unaddressed, fear of abandonment, or even a deep-rooted need to be accepted and liked. By removing the fear it feeds off of, the demon will have to leave you and move on to a more abundant feeding source. On an esoteric level, the demon will leave because it served its purpose, which was to bring to your attention the unresolved fears within that hinder you. Understand that a demonic attack is a last resort solution to long-standing problems. It is but a physical manifestation of the ideological and emotional demons already carried within. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, so I don't have to expand on that. Number 5, what are some symptoms of demonic possessions? Brute behavior, callousness and coldness towards other living creatures, a person who acts with much aggression and disregard for the suffering of another. If this sounds like someone you know, good. Now you'll see how common demonic attacks actually are. They are everywhere and happening all the time. Anything that takes you away from a place of love and unity with all of man could be argued as a spiritual attack. However, many of these behaviors are self-imposed. The way to tell is changed behavior. Try to change the aggressive tendencies and reactions. Strive for patience and compassion for others and for animals especially. If you find this change without resistance, you are doing well. If you find that your desire to change is constantly and overwhelmingly overpowered, it is a sign of energy that is foreign and not of service to you. When it feels out of control, when it contradicts your free will, it is time to seek assistance to remove the entity. So what advice do you have for those who have been or are currently exposed to lower vibrational entities? Where can one seek assistance for removal of these entities? Do not panic. Remember that these are common and usually easy to get rid of with meditation, prayer, and outward loving expressions. For those dealing with dramatic attacks, seek assistance from trusted professionals, be they shamans or priests. Again, remove the root cause. Do not just treat the symptoms. Remove the fears and you remove the demon. Therapists are demon slayers. Practitioners of all kinds who offer counseling and emotional support crush demons every day without even knowing it. If you suspect you are exposed to negative energy or as a preventive measure, you may employ the use of protective crystals. Any crystal will work actively to cleanse and protect your auric field. However, give strong preference to black, white, and purple crystals. These will work best as supplements to regular prayers. Prayers for protection and deflection are immediately answered. Begin to pray abundantly, all the time. Talk to us. We are here to help you. The best preventive measure is a strong relationship between yourself and God. Number 7, should we be afraid of demons? No, they are fear embodied. They are born of fear. They are manifestations of your fears. Water is not afraid of other fluids. Water recognizes fluids as a different source of energy. Rather than fearing your demons, address them. Address them with grace and with authority. Banish them in God's name and your own. They cannot and will not approach you with strong boundaries and authority in place. All right, so this one was more like of a question for me because I was like, wait, I talk to spirits a lot. Like, how do I know I'm not talking to a bad one per se? How can one discern between a kindred spirit and a negative one? A kindred spirit will feel kindred and prove itself to be kindred by matching its actions with its intentions. If you find yourself second-guessing the intentions of a spirit, then banish it altogether. If it is not obviously good to you, then do not waste your time trying to decide if interacting with it will serve you. The same goes for people. Rather than convincing yourselves about the goodness about a person and their place in your life, banish those whose positive impact is not obvious and immediate. Life would be much simpler for you humans this way. This was a fucking drag for all of us. Like, the Akashic Records dragged us for trying to convince ourselves that people are good to us when they're really not. So, likewise, if you're like me and you talk to spirits on the daily, if their impact doesn't feel good immediately and obviously, then just banish it. Then don't talk to that one. Like, life's too short. All All right, number 9. Are exorcisms real and are they effective? Yes. Professional exorcisms can be very helpful in extreme cases of possessions. Seek out a professional if this is your situation and be prepared to be completely honest about your fears of both demons and even the presence of God. To reject God so completely that it allows the presence of a demon to fill a person speaks volumes of character. It is deeply psychological as much as it is spiritual. Exorcisms that do not treat the psyche of a person only treat the symptom and not the root cause. Priests and spiritual mentors would be most effective by also working with mental health counselors. The most effective exorcism would include spiritual maintenance involving crystals, nature, animals, and reconnecting with the cyclical nature of human life as well. Oh, as well as practical assistance from counselors who routinely help a person work through their fears and traumas. The most effective treatment of demonic attack would include treatments for mind, body, and spirit. It would ideally include prayer, guided or supervised meditation, as well as counseling services and exercise programs or routines that bring a person back to their instinctual nature, which is always a love of self and a love of God. I think that's really important that spiritual practitioners work with, the more left brain side of things, like mental health counselors, as well as like priests if you're religious, etc. I think that was really practical. That really resonated. I was like, yes, that sounds good to me. All right, last question that I asked the Akashic Records. I asked for a final word of guidance or wisdom about demons, just in general. What do we need to know? Here's what they said. Please do not panic. Not everything in your life is a demonic attack. Some demons only exist in your mind. Very rarely are demons an external force outside of yourself. This information is meant to help, not to incite panic or doubt. If you are a good person doing good things, addressing fear rather than allowing it to accumulate, then you have nothing at all to be worried about. Call upon the archangels or deities or ancestors of your choice to protect you. Call upon the masters, teachers, and loved ones of the Akashic Records, and we will send ample and powerful protection to you, both physically and spiritually. All is well, and all reflect the Creator, including demons. The Creator is where we all come from and go back to. It starts and ends with God. Those who know God live in godly ways without even trying. It is in your nature to want to be good and do good, to love God and love others too. All is well. Amen. That is so beautiful to me. Like every time I'm playing in the Akashic Records, whether it's stuff like this where I'm like, I just want to know, and I'm just curious. Or whether it's a client and they have like real questions that need answers. Either way, every time I play in the Akashic Records, it's never answers that I expect, and it's always something so much better than what I could have comprehended, something so much simpler. And our life could be so simple if we just allowed it to be. Anyway, so there you go. There's a little bit of a rundown, a very brief rundown about demons and demonic possessions. Are they real? Yes. Are they common? Yes. Rarely do they ever get to the point where it's like The Conjuring or like The Exorcist. And if it does, then that's like a predetermined situation designed for that soul's elevation. That's it. It's something, if the demon is just servicing it. I'm not saying go talk to demons, because there's still that shadow side. But know that at the end of the day, we all report to the same higher authority. So we're good. We're good, essentially. And all of it is according to plan. Whether it's our plan that we chose before coming here, or it's part of the higher plan, the point is, suffering is always a lesson. Suffering in such a mega way is probably only given to the souls that are really hungry for to flex essentially their strength and their faith. So yeah, I don't think there's anything to be worried about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful and informative, and that y'all aren't freaking out, because I'm not. Like, I'm chilling. Fire Nation. Anyway, yeah, so that's your first one. It's also published as a blog. Again, sign up for my classes book me for a tarot reading, book me for your own Akashic session so I can get all in your business. And yeah, become my student if you want. All right, bye. Happy October, y'all.